Hey
Walter, how
Sam,
you doing today, man?
we're good. Sam, how you doing?
Man, I feel much better. I'm talking to you. Hey, before we get started, we got this thing that we do for my podcast. It's called the Over the Top Intro. Anyone who graces us with their presence, we got to go big for them as this show starts. Is that okay with you?
Okay.
Well, let's get into it. All the way from Oakland, California, my next guest is a singer, songwriter, businessman, and the founder of Twin Galaxies Arcade, where all of this craziness starts. He is the not so secreted, closeted Taylor Swift fan. He is a Swiftie, ladies and gentlemen, and he is the star of the film we are here to talk about today. Great, great film, Arcades and Love Song, The Ballad of Walter Day, making its LA premiere at the TCL Chinese Theater, April 17th, 2025. Mr. Walter Day, welcome to the podcast.
I am honored, but I have to begin by telling you I was very heartbroken when the Lions lost. Very heartbroken.
You and me both. It hurt, but look, we'll get there. We'll
Oh,
get
well,
there. Trust me. And speaking of we'll get there, you're living proof of it. So that's high praise coming from you. Just looking at this film, talk about we'll get there. Sir, how was this approach to you? Because I'm an old school King of Kong guy. I thought nothing could beat King of Kong. And a side note, a footnote was your songs in that movie. And then now we're just going to talk about you, your music, your journey, your everything. How are you approached with this project?
well, here's how it happened. Here's how it happened. Um, in 1985, at the height of the arcade era, I had a glamorous girlfriend who one day called me up and said, "Walter, I have secretly been seeing a friend of yours, and I wanted to be free to go and be with him." So anyway, she went and married him and everything, and I was heartbroken. We broke up, and a couple of weeks into the heartbreak, I began to hear music come up. It's like coming up out of my gut, out of my heart, out of my mind. I began to hear original songs with melodies and hooks and lyrics and harmonics and the music to me was so beautiful that I was transfixed by it. And I began to write it down and sing it in the tape recorders. And by the time the phenomena ended, I had 138 songs. And I vowed that even though I wasn't a singer and had no expectation of ever becoming a singer, and no general interest or intention of ever becoming a singer, I vowed that someday I would get up on the stage and I would sing those songs and perform those songs so that everybody else could hear the beautiful music I was hearing. So I was full of that desire. 20 years later, after that moment, the King of Kong happened, and I talked openly with the producer of the King of Kong and my desire to retire from video games and and go on to produce and sing and perform my music. And they were intrigued by that, and they put some of my music into the King of Kong when I'm playing the acoustic guitar. And they told me later that of all the people in the King of Kong, they were the most intrigued by my life story. So 20 years now after that, I'm at a video game event in Pomona, California with Billy Mitchell, and a person comes out of the crowd named David Reichelt, who was the creator of a very successful mobile game called Color Switch, and he had made a fortune producing and selling Color Switch. And he asked me, "Walter, whatever happened about that music?" And I said, "It's still my dream. I've not given up on it, but it's just such a long process to get it to happen because it's an expensive process to do."
Yeah.
And he said, "Walter, I want to put my wealth behind you and I want to produce at my expense your album as a gift to you, no strings attached." So suddenly, Color Switch paid as a gift for me to go into a studio and start recording my album as I produced a 10-song CD, which is still in the process of being finished. And and when the producers of The King of Kong from 20 years earlier learn that this is happening and I'm actually producing my album, they get excited and said, "My God, he's actually coming through and producing his album. And they decided this is a story worth telling. The story of a man in his 70s who never gave up his dream, always believed in it, and proved that it's never too late.
I see, man. And you did prove that not only with the, I guess, rocky montage of you training and taking vocal lessons and having trying to convey what's in your head to our ears.
Hmm.
And I gotta know, man, when you I hope I'm not ruining the movie too much. What was it like from your point of view, just having to sit down with Shane Harris after all of these years, just to sit down and say, like, look, this is what it is. This is how I got here. All of these songs in my head are because of you. You're the muse behind a lot of this. How was that conversation? I mean, the film caught a lot of it, but what's going on internally with you?
Well, I had talked about it in different movies and different things about how there had been a person who broke my heart and that led to the music, but I never ever once, not even once, revealed who the person was. I always kept their identity secret because I wanted to treat it with the ultimate amount of respect and love and affection and being protective of her. I was still protective of her even though she broke my heart. And in the movie, as you'll see, I don't reveal who she is because I'm still feeling protective of her because it just was what it was, and there's no need to be angry and mean or vindictive or revengeful or try to hurt anybody. So besides, I still had affection for her even though we hadn't been together. We would run into each other occasionally over the decades but never really have any interaction again. And so when in the movie when she comes into my house, it's like it's the first time it's it's the first time ever that we're confronting this issue together. And that's how it panned out. And just sweetness and kindness and forgiveness and hugging and kissing, you know what I mean?
Right,
So
right,
very, very nice. And what's interesting is I was worried how the public would view this and if the public would get angry at her and think, oh, she broke Walter's heart. But what's happened is everybody who sees it is so respectful of her incredible dignity and poise, and and she's very distinguished, and she owns up to it and recognizes it and embraces it and is very vulnerable and open to the whole thing. And people respect that and like that and have only an affectionate, positive response to her.
and that's kind of based. I hate to say it like this, but kind of based on how you treated it. Because, and I said this in previous interviews. I talked with Ed earlier, and it was you're the unofficial but official heart and soul of King of Kong. You're like the mascot of King of Kong in a way where we're drawn to you. And don't get me wrong, did the Billy and Steve and the score and all that's one thing. But then when we delve into this, where we get a chance to see you as this crazy ringmaster who had all of that, but we realize you have a life too. So when we dig into your life and we see what you want, your hopes and dreams and aspirations, it's hard not to get behind you, just as a viewer, as a person who saw it. So when you see that, and this is bringing me to my question is the concert. Can
Whoa.
you give me a little bit of what was going on in your head? You
I
prepared for this, you were ready, and then take it away. What happened when you hit the stage?
Well, first of all, the three songs that I sang, I practiced them by singing them 8 times in a row, all three songs. So 24, I'd sing 24 songs per day usually. And I did that for weeks before I got up there because I wanted the voice to be as good as, because remember, from my perspective, I'm not a singer. This is me just not giving up and doing it on a wing and a prayer, getting up and singing in front of people. And I've been in front of a lot of big groups talking, so I'm not nervous talking in front of people. And I wasn't sure how the singing thing was going to turn out because they'd be in front of friends, but also strangers. And it
Right.
was so vulnerable, so exposed to get up there in front of the people. And right before I got up, I was bragging on the camera that, oh, I'm not nervous. This is just like anything else I've ever done where I don't get nervous. But when I got up there, I suddenly got nervous and started trembling because this was a whole new thing. I was completely out of my element, out of my comfort zone. I'm about to sing, and I was so worried more than anything that I was going to forget my lyrics. And
Oh,
so I really worked hard to try to remember, but I didn't forget anything. It came off perfectly, and by the time I sang three songs, and the last one I sang was "Hold Me," and then I sang it a second time as an encore, and my voice was noticeably smoother and sweeter for that final one. In other words, as some people have pointed out, I had relaxed greatly, and I found my comfort zone while performing in front of people.
I gotta know, Walter, you thought about taking this show on the road? I mean, that was a good one, but you feel like going on tour?
Well,
Uh,
at the age of 75, I probably won't do anything too strenuous and going out and
right.
doing tours because that would age me pretty fast, tours and hotels and restaurant food and stuff like that. So, but I do want to perform publicly more, and I especially want to get in the studio and do more songs. I want to actually bring to life easily 20 more songs that are my favorites.
I gotta ask, you have been among the King of Kong experience for a while. Obviously, now you have your own story arc in this one. Have you been to any screenings or anything? I know the big one is going on the April 17th, but have you been to any screenings or anything?
I
How
went
people are viewing this film?
I went to the Long Beach screening, Long Beach Art Theater on March 28th, March 20th, just a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And uh, and here's what I noted. I had seen earlier versions of the movie, and I thought, oh, this is no big deal. This is going to be dull and boring, and no one's going to like this. But they re-edited it and re-edited it and reconfigured it so that it was properly told. And by the time I saw it at Long Beach, a few weeks ago, it was almost a whole different story that had a different dynamic, a different energetic. It actually was funny and entertaining and very emotionally engrossing. And I was completely surprised. And all I could do was shake my head in amazement, saying, "This is not the same movie I saw a year ago when they first did the first iteration of it. This is incredibly, in fact, this is really good." And so my perception that it's really good is being borne out by other people saying this is an inspirational story. Just the idea, it's so inspirational that at the end of your life, it doesn't mean the end of the world. You can still actually have your dreams be realized. And like the motto of the film says, it's never too late.
I gotta know, Walter, what do you want I know the big one's coming up on the 17th. What do you want the audience, them or anyone else who sees this film, what do you want them to feel? Do you want them to take from your life story? What, if anything, what do you want them in their cinematic experience to take when they're done watching this movie? They now know X. So what is that thing you want them to carry with them?
Just believe in their dreams and know that you can make things happen and that there's almost like magical forces of nature that can come out of the clear blue even when you don't expect them because my my story trajectory is a story trajectory of 40 years. It doesn't become actually more amazing than that. 40 years between the heartbreak now and actually us sitting here talking.
Man,
So
how do you feel? I mean, like I'm very curious. How do you, for you to not only live your life as you watch it on the screen, you live your dream, you're sitting here, you're talking to my goofy behind about your film, about you doing this and it comes this test. How do you feel right now?
well, to address your goofy behind, I think I think I think it's so surrealistic, Sam. It's unbelievable. And I'm beginning to now accept the fact that there's a lot of validity. So, see, I'm too emotionally close to it. So to me, it's almost like a hallucination. Like, well, people really like this story. It's my story and I've lived it. But now other people are beginning to embrace it and live it too, along with me. And so it's almost like self-doubt or maybe lack of self-confidence plugs in and say, no one's going to care for this. No one's going to like this. But the more I talk with more people who recognize the validity of the story, I begin to realize that this story is bigger than myself. And that's almost really like the mantra of the thing. The story is actually bigger than myself because it's embodying so many universal principles about forgiveness and love, believing in yourself, never giving up, and understanding that it's never too late. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And when you play it out that way, it makes all the sense in the world. Well, Walter, I know we only had a little bit of time here. This was awesome. I wish you much success. Sir, you crushed it throughout your film, throughout your life. You live your dream. I hope nothing but the best for you, Walter.
I always love talking to a fellow Swiftie.
All right. Well, Walter, thank you so much. Have a great one, man.
Thank you, Sam.
All right.